Blake, it's like over there. Oh, I gotta update the number. This is not 441 anymore. Hello, everyone. We're here, and we're gonna talk about some video games. That's also not right. There we go. 442. I think that's the right episode. That's why I put in the Google Doc. So we will go with that. All right. No bonus content this week, everyone. We're gonna talk about video games. No Scott this week.
When's the last time you actually did it? It seems like you skipped it for the last few weeks. I don't know if anybody's complaining about that. I'm just thought about it. I'm sorry.
I think a couple of people missed bonus content. We did it. I think 3 weeks ago was the last time we did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. We have a long show. We still love you all. I think also I'm trying to pair bonus content with more of a theme instead of what did you do this week? Nothing. Oh, nice. Me too.
Hell yeah. That's kind of week.
Which is a great week. But Scott, Tony, and I all hung out in person, or this movie came out and we all saw it, or this, that, or the other. Why am I getting red bars already? Hi, Andrew. Oh, I think Andrew's in the chat. Oh, Nathan.
I'm in the chat too.
Nato's in the chat.
Nato. Babes?
Oh my god.
He wants that sweet Destiny talk. You heard him.
That sweet Destiny talk. Yeah, all right. He heard. We spoke and he listened. Make sure we're still coming through.
Gotta have those hot green bars.
Gotta have green bars. I'm gonna start recording a backup just in case. Also, a double backup, redundant backup. Joker is depressing as hell. I am here, Dad. Make sure we're still coming through.
Gotta have those hot.
Cool. We're coming through again. All right. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We're about to get started. Make sure I got everything that I fucking need. Got my whole life together.
Trying. My whole wife.
Yeah, my whole wife together. All right. Do you want to take a second, Mike? Do you need to? You're a hungry boy, I know. Just nothing but arms length.
Come at me. I'm over here eating. We're good though.
Okay, I trust you. I know you got that mute function. You know how to use it.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys ever wanted to just take an IV, right, and attach it to yourself, just saline drip IV?
Yeah.
And then open the top of the IV bag and just pour in Everclear.
Not Everclear, but Kool-Aid. Yes.
Why? What? You're not even gonna taste it.
I like the idea of the.
Just want a fucking mainline Kool-Aid.
Get that juicy juice. The idea of Everclear going into my blood sounds awful.
I mean, that's what it does.
I know, but there's a filter. There's a filter. It doesn't just go directly there. I once said what if I just?
All right, hold on. Let me change the scenario.
Okay.
So no saline drip.
Okay.
Just empty bag, right?
Empty drip.
You fill it with turkey gravy.
Okay.
How do you feel?
Worse
or better than the Everclear?
I'm gonna say better.
Right.
It's less flammable.
Part 3, take out the gravy, right, and replace it with TGI Fridays Jack Daniels.
All right, I'm back in. You looped around, Tony. You got me.
I think it's TGI Fridays.
It's Fridays. It's the brand.
Applebee's.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Either way, hard in.
You know what? I've never been to a TGI Fridays.
Really?
Nope.
I used to go there with my grandma and my aunt.
Yeah, I think TGI, restaurants like that are the kind of restaurants that I would go to with my family when I was 10.
Yep.
Yeah,
and I feel like people of our generation don't just hit up the bees,
Yeah, we should.
Should we?
See you tomorrow, Applebee's.
Yeah, we're going to Applebee's.
Yeah, I was gonna say in college that was
the spot.
It was Applebee's or I or it was the opposite of we were really drunk and we went to Denny's
See-
or Waffle House.
Mm-hmm.
For me in college, I lived with 2 Koreans and Scott. So when we went to get food, we went to fucking Korean barbecue. It was great
Yeah,
because it was like 10 minutes away.
Wow,
the premium.
that's good.
Yeah, it is. That is a good deal. Tony has disseminated the Korean barbecue to the rest of us plebs.
We should go again soon.
We should. That place in Laurel's very good. All right, let's get started. It is Saturday, October 5th, 2019, and you are listening to the Irrational Passions podcast. I am Alex O'Neill. I'm like the one cat in Aristocats that like leads all the other cats to the cool hangout spot. And some of my other cats today we have are Mr. Tony Horvath.
Okay, part 4. If you replace the Jack Daniel's sauce with
Tony, no one's gonna get this because they weren't listening
with
before.
Arby's horsey sauce.
Okay. If I put
mainline horseradish.
If I mainlined horseradish via a saline drip directly into my bloodstream,
Yeah.
I would die.
But would you like it?
No.
Is it worth it?
Also joining us this week, Brian Nobishin Jackson.
It's Thomas O'Malley.
Oh, yeah, of course. There's no one else in my head that would connect with. And joining us also this week, Mike Burgess.
Hello.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Alex.
How are you
Hi,
doing, man?
everyone.
I don't. Yeah, we spent a lot of time together this week, Mike.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah. I love
No,
video games.
no Scott tonight. He let us know he couldn't make it, but we're sending him lots of love, and we got a good show. Obviously, we're talking a lot about putting things in IVs and equipping that to our bodies,
Yeah.
and just seeing where the night takes us,
And our light level goes up.
and the power, the big number goes up.
I feel like all 4 of the things that I suggested from the beginning have serious medical consequences if you were to actually.
Absolutely not. Do not follow this advice. Full disclosure: we are not medical experts. Well, maybe Tony is, but I haven't seen his degree.
Yeah, let me show you. Hold on. Go to makeadegree.com.
Makeadegree.com. So, with no Scott, with only Destiny ahead of us, I would like to take you all into the land of video games, and introduce you to this little thing called Destiny 2 Shadowkeep. This is a video game, Irrational Passions podcast. Hello, welcome. It's a podcast where we talk about the video games that we've been playing. And today we're just going to jump right into it. Much like last week. I think games are too hot right now not to give them the treatment they deserve, specifically Destiny. I want to talk about Destiny first because I feel like that's what the people came for. I tweeted out like, "Hey, we're about to talk about Destiny right now." So
And that's when you slow roll it.
Yeah, you
Be
slow
like,
roll
at
it.
the end of this podcast, we're going to talk about Destiny 2
Yeah.
Shadow. But we might also talk about it at a random point during the podcast. So don't skip ahead.
yeah.
Yeah. If you're watching the video version, you'll see 10 minutes until Destiny 2
I was
Shadowkeep
gonna
is
say,
out
like,
and
the
lower
EA
There's like
banner.
a timestamp on the screens. Like, skip here for
Destiny
Exactly.
Talk will happen at 9:30 p.m. tonight. Tune in live. It's 8:13 now. Let's see how they get there.
Yeah.
No, let's talk about Destiny.
Yep.
Tony's been playing. I've been playing. Mike, you've been playing. Nobishin, obviously, way into the lore. But no. Nobishin, how do you feel about Destiny right now? This is a totally random question. I know it's a thing that you have zero interest in. I just want to know how you feel about it.
I haven't followed Destiny since I tried Destiny 2 when it first came out, so I'm just clueless on it now.
It's there's a lot of stuff. There's like alien. The moon is haunted. Like as an update,
Yeah,
general update.
Kind of scary.
Yeah, it's kind of spooky. Tony, you've been playing on PC. Mike, you've been playing on PS4 with me.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have it on PC.
Yeah. I have the free to play version on PC. I plan on getting updated onto the other expansions, but I had it originally on the Blizzard net before that, so I just carried everything over that I had from there.
Cool. Let's so we just to preface this, right? We've talked a lot about Destiny this week in Irrational Passionsville. Mike and I actually did I think it was 12 hours. Was
Yes.
the total stream. Was our launch day stream. Tons of fun. I had to duck out in the middle, but we came back and played through the night to finish the story. So we got to do all that on Tuesday. If you tuned into that, thank you for coming and hanging out. It was a lot of fun. We brought Jake Palmer in from our raid team briefly. Tony, you were hanging out and chat a little bit while you were playing.
You mean while I was waiting in queue?
While you were queuing. So like that happened. I think there's a lot of good stuff. If you just want to see Destiny being played, I don't know if we'll archive that because it was really long, but we might do something with it. Either way, there was a lot of fun, and thanks everyone who came and hang out. I'll start with you, Mike. I brought you on because I wanted to talk about Destiny.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about Shadowkeep?
I think it's great. As somebody who doesn't have the affinity for the moon, because the moon was in the original Destiny 1,
Which you never played.
I never played the original Destiny, so not seeing this stuff. So like, I'm sure for a lot of people, it's, they said it's like kind of not 1-to-1, but there's a lot of the stuff that was on the moon in Destiny 1 is here in this version of the moon in this game. So I'm sure that's like kind of charted ground for a lot of people who have already been playing Destiny for years. But for me, it's like it's like a new place to explore. And it was like I said, like you said, we played a bunch on the day it came out on Tuesday, and like it was fun, like hearing you kind of tell me about like, oh yeah, this place is where this happened and where this fight happened, and here's like this little homage for this moment, and that's been fun to see. Like it's surprising to be like, oh yeah, Destiny's been around for like what, like 6-7 years or something like that.
5 years now.
Mm.
2014.
So there is like a nostalgia for it in some ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just beyond just like exploring the moon, like they did a lot of cool stuff with like, they added a lot more like intricate systems to like the armor and like some of that like upgrading that make it like a little bit more interesting and a little bit more like you have the ability to be more fine tuned to your own kind of play style, or a play style you want to try out like more than you've ever been able to in that game, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it's really I haven't really started going too deep on that because we're as when Destiny first comes out, a new expansion, it's all about like power grinding and stuff and getting to level up as high as you can.
That, and like I guess like a lot of things changed today.
Yeah.
Which I haven't even seen any of that.
So like literally the day we were recording this podcast, and if you're here live in the chat now, the raid for this expansion went live, and like basically like the whole premise is like the Vex, like the ancient, like the very ancient, like the Vex that are from the like are like the robot alien race from Destiny in the game, and basically Vex from the like birthplace of where they come from are now like pouring onto the moon from the raid area, which is called the Black Garden. Excuse me, it's called the Black Garden. So now like there's a couple things going on because they basically, right when they launched the raid, they launched another like a little quest, and then like a new mode that's called the Vex Offensive. That's really cool.
Oh, cool.
I did get to play like it a couple times, right like earlier today when it launched. And basically, like the first thing you do is it sends you back to the moon, and now on the moon, I don't know the specific timings of it, but essentially it's like an equivalent of a public event happens on the moon now. It's not like a typical one where it's like you see a flag and then you wave the flag and the time comes up. All of a sudden, you just see this massive Vex portal appear in the sky, and it just starts raining those like ancient like Vex with all the grown over like moss over them.
Cool.
And then like they're all raining down, and then like a big one spawns, and it's called the Gate Lord. And you take down that Gate Lord at one area, and then the portal will appear and appear somewhere else. You have to kind of go chase it down. And you do that like I think like 2 times, and on the third time, a big Hydra spawns, like the thing with like the spinning shields.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a and it's called like the Overlord, and it's just like a massive, massive one that has a bunch of HP, and it's very beneficial to have like a big group of people that are just around because it's essentially like a public event. Um, so yeah, you just kind of do that, and like you'll get the user stuff like a chest will drop if you beat the Overlord, and you get a bunch of like Vex components and like which is like a material that you can take back to Ikora on the tower, and now you can actually get like stuff from Ikora. Now she finally has stuff which she hasn't pretty much had since like all of Destiny.
Nice. Yeah, pretty much all Destiny 2.
Yeah, so now she has Vex offensive bounties for that new gameplay mode, and she also has like little you can purchase I think you can just purchase outright the weapons, like the new Vex weapons
Cool.
from her with that component parts. Like, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't really done it because the Vex offensive in that gameplay mode, I pretty much easily got all the guns related to that already, like all the legendary ones at least.
Nice.
And the Vex offensive is really cool. It's weird to describe it because it's not a full on. It feels like they basically took an encounter out of a raid and like truncated and made it its own little mini thing
Sure.
in a way.
It's kind of
'Cause
like what the Menagerie is as well.
Yeah, like it is on that scale of like the Menagerie and like somewhat of like the Blind Well, because you're essentially you spawn in, and it's an amazing environment. It's like one of the coolest environments I think so far, where it's like this green, lush, like jungly forest looking area, but it's also like taken over by the Vex. So think kind of like some areas in Nessus where it's like more like forested, but it's all like actual like green forested, but there's still like weird like Vex architecture and machinery around and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically there's plates that are in this environment that you go up and hack, and that starts it, and then you're basically fighting like waves and waves of Vex. And like the first round of it is just take out as many as you can within this time limit. And if you do that, it spawns a second wave, which then like during that wave, like more powerful like minotaurs spawn that get like these crazy shields that you have to have like certain mods to break.
Ooh.
And there's also ones that'll drop those weird little like laser guns that, like they've been in some of the raids, like they were, gosh, specifically in the Last Wish raid. You
Okay.
remember like that one encounter where you like have to shoot the laser at each other?
Yeah.
They basically like drop those, and the crystals like spawn around the environment, and you have to like shoot those with the lasers that drop specifically from certain enemies.
Cool. How
And
many
then that's
how many people is this like?
it's up to 6 people,
Okay, cool.
and it's match made, so you can like group up and do it too.
Cool.
But yeah, basically you do that for an encounter. And then a chest spawns. You can go get the chest, and then like a pathway opens, and then you go to a new area. And you do like kind of the same thing over again in this new area, but it's like a slightly bigger, more open area. But it's essentially like the same steps of do the one wave, do the next wave, shoot the crystals, and then you go to a third and final environment where where a boss spawns, and then you're essentially fighting it as it's going to these panels. And like when it goes to each panel, those dudes that you kill to get the laser spawns, and you have to like use the lasers to whittle down his shield to like free him so you can damage him and take him down.
Cool.
And yeah, and it's pretty fun. Like I said, the environment's super cool, and again, like Ikora all has bounties and all kinds of stuff for it, and you get tier 2 powerful gear for completing it. For there's one thing Ikora has, it's tier 1 powerful gear, and then like for beating high level Vex and just a certain amount of Vex within the mode, you get a tier 2 powerful gear from it. So
Cool. That's awesome.
it's another, yeah. So it's pretty cool.
That, and again,
that's neat.
that just popped into the game today. If you have Shadowkeep,
Yeah.
you can just do that now.
Mm-hmm.
And they like upped the power level for the moon, right? It's like 940. You said.
No, that's 940 is the raid recommended level.
Okay, got it.
A recommended power for the raid is 940.
Sure, that's higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah, yeah. But because like seeing people do it today, like I think they've upped the challenge from what they were saying. That's usually what
today
they
is
do.
going to be harder than it is.
So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's 940 because of that.
Yeah, it might like
But
the
we'll see.
maximum, the final raid encounter might be 940, so they might have set all of the encounters to 940 to make it
Yeah.
tougher.
It's entirely
Cool.
possible.
Tony, as a lapsed Destiny fan, you've come back. Talked a little bit while we were streaming. But I don't. How are you feeling about Destiny now?
I don't know. I haven't really had a time to play.
Okay.
I'm at the point in the story where I have collected all the pieces of armor,
Nice.
and I gotta say, as coming back from an account that played, by the way, I cross saved the wrong account.
Oh, got
the
it.
one that I had all my shit on was my PS4 account, and now there's a 60-day cooldown if I unlink them to get it back.
Okay.
So it would not make any, like, I would have to play. I could unlink it, but then I couldn't play the account that I wanted for another 60 days anyway. So at this point, it doesn't make sense to do it. I'd also have to rebuy the expansion.
Yeah.
But so as this account, it got to max level on all three classes and had got to like soft cap plus light on all three, like almost cap light on all three.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, also it got like basically all of the PvP exotics.
Yeah.
So all the PvP shit that it needed, and all like top tier year one, like patch 1 PvP legendaries, like the Last Dance, Curtain Call, all that shit, which is just like the best shit to have for PvP. I had all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
did you play a lot of PvP?
that's all I did on PC is I played Trials.
Okay, yeah,
that's why I picked that account, because I thought it was the one that was more progressed, because it had like the flawless emblem and shit.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff, like just getting boosted up to 750 with like year 1 legendary armor and all that, it is very difficult to play the game with that shit.
Yeah. And some things have been like changed too, and I don't know if it might be per equipment. I think it's like per gun, but you can do like the upgrade option for some guns to bring them.
Yeah, it seems like the exotics and stuff. Once you get to a higher light, you can just like you can dismantle the old ones and re-get them from your collection as like higher light, and that works just fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, like using my old legendaries, they didn't do any damage. And so I was like, I have to use whatever the game gives me. So there was a point where I was trying to fight an ogre, and the only weapons that I had were a shotgun and a main hand sidearm. So that was fucking bullshit. It took so long to kill that goddamn ogre with a sidearm, dude.
Yeah, I mean, like when you're like back to leveling, like that was like going through on that first day. It's like I'm just gonna use whatever they give me because I'm just going up, and there's no point in infusing anything. Yeah, I like that's a little par for the course. I definitely had a double sniper rifle like hour where I was like, all right, I'm just double sniper rifles right now. But luckily that switched over pretty quickly for me.
I'd never seen the crossbows.
Oh, the bow and arrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they added the bow in Forsaken. They're cool. I like how they feel a lot. Different ones have like different drawstring times, and kind of different feedback that I like. Some even have like exploding arrow tips. Some arrows will go through multiple enemies, and like you'll see like an entry and exit, which like only some hand cannons could do, as far as I know. Maybe some snipers as well. They're cool. But yeah, I'm curious. Since the save mishap happened, are you just gonna wait to play now?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm playing. Like I'm past that already. Now I've got like I got my Mida multi-tool back, and I'm using that.
Hell yeah.
And so I've
heard a lot of Mida clicks I
Yeah,
was
dude,
playing.
my trusty staple gun.
Yeah, it's
Um,
a good sound.
So I've got all that stuff, like, and I'm able to play the game. I just haven't had a lot of time to like play the game. So,
Yeah, it's a grindy game. I get you.
so we'll see. And also, I was waiting for my friend to get the game installed because he had to like some shit with his computer that he needed to fix. But I think he already finished the whole story while I was at work today. So
Yeah, you're not far from it. So, I'm a big fan of what they've done with Shadowkeep. I've been seeing like kind of not necessarily like the resounding message from like people who are playing Shadowkeep of like wow, like why are they reusing the moon, et cetera, et cetera. I really never had that feeling with it. I think like it's a very different environment. And like the parts about the moon that are the same are cool. I think it is a little nostalgia pang for me of like, oh, I remember coming here and getting helium filaments. Because I did that a lot. Everyone did. Especially like vanilla Destiny 1. Those are the stories that I heard a lot of. But yeah, so like I don't know, a lot of people, we got a couple of questions about it too, and we'll talk about them later just because I have some more general thoughts to get out there, but I don't know. I think that's a weird thing to hold on to. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I think like uh what they were going for was something cool, and like when you play through this story, I think um the reason it's on the moon is almost secondary. It's like, you know, we wanted to do both, like tell a new story, start introducing some cool stuff, and bring back some stuff that from the original Destiny that people liked, like the moon. So I think they did a good job. They executed on what they wanted to do well. I appreciate now that we played it, because as soon as we kind of got into it and we were playing, I'm like, oh, this, like, you know, this red keep on the moon looks like Mordor. It's very cool. Mike and I talked a lot about how like it has a very Lord of the Rings vibe to it. Different Lord of the Rings vibe than the Dreaming City, which they did last year, but they're leaning into the fantasy aspect, the space fantasy aspect of it, which I really like. But on top of that, like all the Vex stuff I know is not like that. So I imagine there will be a nice contrast of new and old once I get back and start playing that stuff. But I really like it. I like the you know, without spoiling anything, they're finally kind of paying off or introducing some of the stuff that they teased at the end of the original Destiny 2, which is a long time coming, sure, but like I always I felt that like they were getting there with a lot of the stuff, that post game stuff that happened in Destiny 2 vanilla, with like Callus and this weird Leviathan ship that he has and his kind of weird court of weirdos. Just a lot of weird going on. And they're finally like actually sinking in and setting up like, hey, like something big is about to happen. And what I love is that they were the things that they talked about before this expansion came out were very non-spoilery. They were very, I didn't watch everything that they did, and all the vid docs and videos and stories that they did, but the big kind of MacGuffin of what's going on here was not mentioned or shown at all before I saw it in the game, and that was really cool. And then on top of it, the stuff that you were talking about earlier, Mike, of like the Vex invasion, all this stuff, they had kind of like, there was like little hints on the map at like these 3 zones where it says Vex invasion. But like aside from that, we didn't know what that was going to look like, what that was going to be, and how that was going to happen. So it just like, you know, like 1:00 earlier today, I got like just a message from our raid group, our like group DM, and it was just like, y'all, the Vex are invading the moon. I don't know what's happening. And that was cool. Like I there's not quite been something like that with Destiny 2. They did a little bit of that with Dreaming City, where we got to the Dreaming City that first week, and it was like, oh, this is cool, and everything's kind of chill. We're just fighting. And then after the world's first beat the raid, it essentially triggered a series of events that would change the Dreaming City, and then it locked that location into a 3-week cycle that would go through these 3-week motions of getting progressively worse, then resetting, and then it all tied that together into a narrative, and essentially the first team that finished the raid, right? Like it showed this little cutscene of like all their player names and hey, like they did this and it has changed the game. So seeing them do that again, but maybe even with even more stuff, is really cool. Like that was like, oh, they're going for something here. When I saw that in Forsaken, it seems like they're again going for something. I think like my big takeaways that I was really surprised by, are like weirdly the Fortnite influence on Destiny, in a way that I don't think is bad. Like specifically the season pass leveling structure that they've introduced with Forsaken, but also the kind of stuff I was talking about earlier, like this stuff just happens in the world. I think that was like a really big part of like being there and seeing it happen in Fortnite when their big like historical events would happen in that game, like the meteor that crashed down while people were just playing a normal match of Battle Royale and it changed the map, or like the giant monster fight with a giant robot that would happen just randomly in a match that happened like I think a month, maybe 2 months ago. It was like really cool. Okay, these like dynamic events are happening in the world of Fortnite that are changing the map, the one map, and they happen in real time. And anybody who's on the map at that point in time will see it. It seems like they are trying to do stuff like that with this. And they've talked a lot about how the game is going to evolve as time goes on. But the other thing is that, so they've introduced essentially a battle pass to Destiny. And this was a thing I was really worried about because it's like, I don't know how this is going to work for this game. I don't know if this is going to be a benefit or a deficit. I think it's really... I'm not like fully sold on it, but I really like it. I don't know if it is a benefit yet, but I like what they've done with it. Essentially, you don't level up in Destiny 2 after you hit max level. Essentially, every level you get a bright engram, and that's it, right? You can use that to get cosmetics like emotes or things like that. Not necessarily anything game changing, but you're building experience, and you get, you just get engrams as you play the game. Now you are leveling up a battle pass, essentially a season pass. So you were getting season levels. And the year 3 of Destiny is broken into 3 seasons, just like year 2 was. So the season of the Undying is the first season, the opening season of Shadowkeep. And in the later ones, they'll introduce new modes, new missions, and new story stuff, like they did with Forsaken and that year 2 of Destiny 2. So when I level up, it's like you've reached level 19 of this season, and you have like a season 8 page that shows like, here are the standard rewards for everybody who levels up, and then here are the rewards for people who level up with the season pass. So every level you're essentially getting 2 things up until a point, and those things are pretty big. Like one of them, with the season pass, if you have it, is now every time you dismantle a legendary weapon, you get an extra legendary shard for doing that. It's like, okay, that like changes a lot. That gets you a lot more resources, although they seem a lot more plentiful, currently at least. But that's a big deal, and that's like a little, I don't want to say pay to win, but that is like you are getting the edge on people that don't have the season pass. Obviously, the only people that don't have the season pass right now are playing First Light, the free-to-play version, because you need at least Shadowkeep to play the Shadowkeep stuff, and that comes with that first season pass. So it seems like a cool thing that they're testing out. There is like something called a seasonal artifact that you actually get through those levels at level 7 through the season pass. Everybody gets it, and that will give you you level that up, and that increases your power, like your overall level, just by playing the game, which is very like OG Destiny type of thing to do. Instead of having to only get new loot to increase your overall power, you can now increase that by 5 by leveling up this artifact. But you also unlock special weapon and armor mods through that artifact that will give you an edge against Vex. Make your melee finishers give you primary, heavy, or secondary ammo. Things like that are really cool and let you customize your character a lot more. All that Armor 2.0 stuff is, we don't necessarily have to explain how it works, but it's cool as well. Like just being able to equip mods and make your Guardian feel a little bit more unique to how you want to play is cool.
Yeah, it definitely seems a lot more like a system you can interact with if you want to fine tune a character more. Like if you have very specific weapons you like and kind of only use, you can kind of use the mods and like that seasonal artifact to kind of like finer tune those of like giving it things like faster reload, better making sure you're getting that, like you said, getting the ammo type you need for that gun. So yeah, and I think it's pretty cool for them to do that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are even above us who like playing this game nonstop since it launched and even before that. So they want to be able to do that stuff. Um, they also made it so you can like transmog armor, but it's only for like at least right now it's only for the like cosmetic stuff you get through those engrams, or the stuff you buy that you can just outright buy. So like that's like nice, but it would be nice. I hope they include a little bit more armor as the game progresses on.
Yeah, I like a lot of that stuff too, because they brought the stats, the I guess stats would be the stats from Destiny 1 back. Essentially, there were 3 stats in Destiny 2 for the last 2 years, right? It's just like, hey, this will increase your mobility, this will increase your health and shield regeneration, and this will increase your total health. Those were the stats, right? You could change your armor and your weapons around, not usually just armor, to essentially adjust those a little bit more. Like certain raid encounters, you want to move fast, so you increase your mobility, right? Makes sense. Now they've brought the Destiny 1 stats back, and they correspond to the cooldown time for your melee, your grenade, and your super. So if you just wanted to equip a mod on all of your armor that makes your super regen faster, you can just do that. If you want to optimize yourself to get supers a lot, you can now do that like you could in Destiny 1, where you couldn't in Destiny 2 before. So now there are 6 stats. They didn't get rid of any. They didn't get rid of the Destiny 2 stats. There's just, they all have like, it's like intellect and something, I strength or whatever. I don't know what the names of the stats are, but they just all correspond to a specific thing. So now, since you have all 6 of those stats, you can... you need the weapon mod or armor mods in order to like help, like, oh, this increases intellect by 20. Like you would still need to equip those things, but you can more create like a range for your character, like a specialization within that. And like to what you're saying, Mike, if you use assault rifles, you can get the mod that lets you reload assault rifles faster. And so like, okay, you are kind of leaning yourself into the thing that you want to do a little bit more. And Destiny's not really had that. Like, I think they have in very like big ways, but not in small ways. Like there was no subtlety to it. It was, I think, more grand gestures. The most that it got, nuanced and specific was the armor mods before that would make you move faster or make your health regen faster, and those were still very subtle. And keep in mind, like when I say like super regen faster, we're talking like 2 minutes and 50 seconds to 2 minutes and 30 seconds, right? It's not necessarily a huge jump, but you could in theory bring that all the way down to 2 minutes, and that's like a long time shaved off of that super regen. And depending on how you play the game, that can make a huge difference. It's a lot of those are like, I think, the big picture stuff. There's a lot of little stuff too, like the melee finishers where like you can see like a dot above someone's head now and click R3 next to them to do like this camera zooms out, you do this big finishing move. And it looks rad. And it stacks with like different melee abilities. So like if you have a warlock with Devourer on, when you do that, you get your health back, and it's like, oh, that's cool. Um,
I started playing with my Titan, who has who's the Void class,
mhm.
and it's a similar thing where he has a melee ability that gives him and if I was playing with other people over shields around me, and the finisher does that as well in that
Yeah,
class.
that's
So
cool. Like
pretty good.
that's it's a flashy thing, but it it helps and it adds a little bit more. Kind of like adding the bows in Forsaken, like was like, oh, this is like a cool different thing. This is just another cool different thing. You don't even have to ever do it. It's just there. It's something you can do.
Yeah, and bringing those up, I think another thing that I like about the seasonal like track and season pass kind of battle pass style thing
Mm-hmm.
is those finishers themselves, like all of them, all the characters have them, but it is also like a customizable thing. Like there are like fancy and like silly ones that you can like purchase with real money or with the in-game currency that you can get. Like they're in the Eververse, which is the shop. So like there's those, but you can also get those and with like and just some cosmetic stuff in general now on that battle pass. So I think like there was like obviously like you said, like prior into Destiny it was just like you once you hit max level you can kind of fill out an XP meter and then you get an engram and it just gives you a random assortment of stuff. Right now it's like you can actually work towards like cosmetic stuff if you want it. I think that's nice they to have that finally in Destiny in
Yeah,
some way.
it is weird. Like you don't get bright engrams anymore, really.
Yeah,
Um,
they are on the path. They are on the path. Like you can get them, but they're
mhm.
not like as prevalent as they were
Yeah.
for
You
sure.
you get them at like these big like every 5 levels towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's they've set up like in the story they've set up stuff that I really liked about Forsaken, which was and when we were like in the thick of it, and to be fair, like we spent like a whole month kind of getting raid ready and
Yeah.
chipping away at the raid over weeks and weeks and weeks. So like I think that
Hmm.
that process was more elongated for the raid aspect of it for us last year, but like the coolest parts were coming back to the Dreaming City every week and something had changed or there was a new challenge for you to do, like these Ascendant challenges.
Hmm.
And each week those were different. And the city as a whole looked different, and Petra was in a different spot. And then at the end of week 3, it opened this new dungeon, which there had never been dungeons in Destiny before. And there's going to be a dungeon at some point in this expansion. I think like next month, maybe. It's gonna go
Hmm.
live. So they've set up a thing of like, hey, you're helping Eris Morn, who's returned from the Taken King expansion of Destiny 1, as like the kind of main quest giver here. Hey, like you're gonna be doing different stuff with her every week for at least 5 weeks, because of a
Hmm.
narrative thing. And that's cool. Like I already see a reason for me to at least check in and do this specific challenge every week for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And that has me excited alone just because I'm expecting other things to happen at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, a-
Totally.
and being able like them slowly converting this into more of a living game, like where you're coming back and things are going to be a little bit different week over week, which is something they've been trying to do with the seasons. But I don't know if they've been as successful with like the season of the Drifter, the season of Opulence, the things that kind of came before this. This seems like
Yeah.
just such a great introduction baseline of new stuff, that has me like really excited in a way that I was worried that I wouldn't be, and I am again. It's dope.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you nailed it when you said like when it comes to like how they're treating these seasons now, where like it's in the way that they've made some of the more granular choices with characters and stuff. It's like a little bit more of like a spread of stuff in these seasons now, where before the last seasons, well, like the season before Shadowkeep was pretty had like a bunch of cup was kind of what they're doing now, but the two ones before were like very specific of like the first season was these forges, which is basically like horde style modes, and that was kind of the big thing, and that was kind of all you really had to chase after.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one after that was was Gambit related. So they had a new Gambit Prime, and that was kind of the big thing. And like that's all they really had in those 2 seasons. Where like now, like you said, like we're getting another new mode later this month. We're getting a ton of different little side quests, and like we're getting like exotic quests and other stuff are like all popping in this season alone. So like that's like a bunch of a whole variety of things to have like over like the next 2-3 months,
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool.
it is cool, and I know that like like obviously like the first Forsaken thing was the biggest thing of that year of year 2 of Destiny. And they, a lot of what Bungie has said is like, hey, we want to make this it not like that. We want every season to be exciting, right? Like we don't want it just to be exciting at the gate and then like the next 2 seasons are cool, but they're not as cool. We want it to feel like something that you're engaged in the whole time. And the way that they're doing that, the way they're talking about it at least, is like we want stuff to happen that is only going to happen that season. And you're only going to be able to see it in that season. And we want you to be able to be there for that. Like, so that way when new stuff happens in the future, you can be like, I was there when this happened. Right. And I already feel that with like how the Vex invaded the moon. And like to get that kind of like understanding of what they're trying to do when they've been so tight-lipped about it within like the first 5 days is really cool. It's an exciting feeling. So I think Destiny 2 is in a good spot. And if your main complaint is like, why are they reusing the moon? Like I would say like give it a shot. Like check it out first. Because like one of the things that Mike and I were talking about was this whole one of the first like really cool things, and we talked about it on this podcast years ago. But in 2015, when Taken King came out, one of the coolest things that they started introducing to Destiny at the time was like the secret shit that like nobody was really telling anybody how to do stuff. They were just figuring it out, which is like the embodiment of the raids, the embodiments of the lore. Like it's a lot of like people committing the time to figure it out, and it's exciting to figure it out. Like when Mike and I found a secret chest, or like one of the chests in Destiny in the moon that's like a God of War chest from the new God of War where you have to shoot these symbols. Like we found it, we had never seen it before, we didn't know what it was, and we figured it out just in the moment together. And that was really exciting. Like that's just cool stuff. And they're trying to do that more and more. And I think I might have lost my train of thought. But like I remember now, like the Omnigul mission, which was like a heroic story mission that I did many times as a daily in Destiny 2 Taken King. Like they kind of reimagined that into this, and it has a lot of those nostalgia vibes of like going through that same area, but it looks different now because it's been destroyed. And then like seeing like the doorway that you could go through in the heroic version to get the Black Spindle, which is this like exotic sniper rifle of like, you gotta go through this doorway, go up this portal, and then you have to fight your way through this ship and beat this boss within 5 minutes. And like just seeing all those areas again and kind of having those nostalgia pangs of like, oh wow, like I remember doing this under time pressure. I remember fighting this tank in this room. And there's like in that room you go, there's like a destroyed tank in the corner. It's like, oh, that's so cool. I think that's a subtle touch, but moreover, like knowing Bungie, they're going to do something with that. Like it's not just going to be that. I know that there's going to be some kind of payoff to some of the cool parts about Taken King all these years later in the cool parts of Destiny 2. So it's really good. It's
I kind of had the opposite reaction to a lot of that stuff, like going through the same shit. I was like, neat. They reused all the shit from before. I was like, this is very low effort.
See, like it doesn't feel low effort to me. Like it obviously looks
extremely low effort to me. I was like, they couldn't at least make a new fucking level,
Yeah, but like there are a lot of new levels also.
But and they have you fight Taniks. You don't even fight Taniks in the Taniks room, dude.
You fight them in a different room. It's weird.
And they swapped them.
Yeah. But it's
the same fight. Like it's the same Taniks fight. He's got the same AI.
Yeah, I don't know. Like also those missions are very quick and you get through them and then you get to more of the new stuff, right? Like I like, because they're trying to pay tribute to, you know, the people that played Destiny for a long time. I like revisiting those things. I want to see them again because a lot of what Destiny is like the kind of cyclical nature of it.
Maybe for me, because I didn't play any expansions in the middle of it. It's just like, oh, neat, I'm playing the exact same shit as
yeah,
before.
you've lapsed for a while. You come back and it's like, okay, I've seen all this before.
Yeah, like where's the new expansion?
Yeah, I think like they've certainly won me over as far as how they tie it all together, right? Some people aren't going to feel like that. You're not going to feel like that, it sounds like. But I don't know. It doesn't. Recycled seems like such a weird thing to say because it doesn't, like, I understand you're going through this area again, you're fighting this boss again, but
It's the same boss, dude. It has a different name, but it's the exact same AI.
It
He
doesn't.
does the same shit.
It doesn't feel the same. Like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't.
You're crazy.
It has a different vibe. Obviously,
No, it doesn't. It's the same boss.
It's a totally different vibe.
No, it's not. He's got a different name. That doesn't mean it's
No,
dude,
I'm
does the
saying-
same shit. He stands in the same place.
I'm not saying like the nightmare stuff, like whatever. I'm just saying like the setup of the mission, like what you're doing feels different because of the context that they are trying to set out. But I get it's not gonna, like, that's not gonna pull everybody in. It worked for me. I think to the people, like, maybe not you, Tony, but like to the people that are seeing this and like, is it just the moon? I don't think it's just the moon. There's more to it than just that. Like, you know, I haven't even seen any of this Vex stuff to speak about, so I don't know what that is like. But you were getting a half and half deal. You were getting half old, half new, which like is a risk for them. I think they are conveying it as like, hey, we want to pay tribute to this and bring the moon back into Destiny, and like we're gonna do it by bringing the moon back. We're not gonna just do a different area like they did with Mars or like they did with Earth. We're gonna bring this back. We're gonna add stuff to it, and we're gonna change it. And along the way, we're gonna introduce these nightmares that are like old versions of Destiny 1 bosses. But like, I've been playing Destiny for 2 years. I haven't seen that stuff, and then some of that stuff, like fighting Omnigul and going into those missions, was like some of my favorite stuff to do over and over again in Destiny 1, because of all the kind of dynamics to it. So when they brings it back, it's just like, oh, this is fun. I get through it, and then I go into whatever's new is next, right? It's not like a game ruining experience for me. And revisiting it years later, like, you know, I don't fucking remember what this AI was like for this boss. So like,
Let me remind you, it's the exact same shit.
but it, you know,
He moves in the same way, attacks in the same way. Like, it's the same boss, but they switched the names.
yeah. But like that is not how it comes across to me. When I'm living in the moment, I'm like, oh, like I kind of remember this, but I'm fighting and getting through it again. I will say, like, all those three, because you do Omnigul, Tanix, and the other dude, I forget his name. And they also brought back Fogoth, which is cool. It was a kind of a bummer. The only part about that is like they didn't bring back the mechanic of that fight, which I liked quite a bit, but that also wouldn't work without 6 people. But it's like, oh, I don't remember exactly how this fight goes. And also, this feels like a lot easier than those original fights were, especially Tanix. But yeah, I will say fighting the one guy in a different room was weird for me, because I was like, this seems familiar, but something's off. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if that's what you want to get hung up on, though, like it's not a hang up for me. It's Destiny is replaying old stuff and fighting old stuff again for me. And I find a lot of satisfaction in that game for no explicable reason. I don't know why. But that stuff really clicks for me. So just being able to revisit some of my favorite fights from Destiny 1, even if they were simple, is cool for me. I like it. The nostalgia works for me. That's also true of my personality, though. Let me tell you about Legends of Zelda Link's Awakening. But yeah, it's the same fight. Like, Omnigul is the same fight, I can tell you that much. But I like it still, so like I'm not complaining. I think it's weird. It's a weird spot. They're trying to thread a needle here, and I don't know if they're succeeding overall, but I like what they're doing. I think to what you're saying though, Tony, if like, you know, next week they introduce 3 more nightmares and it's like 3 more fights from Destiny 1 that are kind of the same again, of like 1-to-1 copying their stuff. I think that will work for me for a little while, but I don't think that works forever. But I don't know. I want to see what they do. I want to see if they're a big part of this expansion is the nightmares are like recreations of these old enemies in Destiny, and I like the first time you encounter one, it's Crota, which is like a weirdly specific choice. I feel like maybe Oryx would have made more sense, but it's Crota, the Fanatic, and Gull, who are like the Fanatic and Gull are the 2 of the big bosses from Destiny 2 and then Forsaken, and Crota is from the Dark Below, Destiny 1 expansion, and those fights are at least different, but you know, you're fighting nightmare versions of all these the Destiny 1 strike bosses or Destiny 1 bosses from the story. And you know, they're like those fights again. But I don't know, like that's not tickling any nostalgia for you at all, Tony? Do you have any like reverence for those fights anymore, or are you just ready to move on?
I mean, it's fine. Like, it's just like, you know, it's not a very good first impression of the it's like one of the first things you do is just go do shit that's already been done.
Well, I mean, yeah, the first thing you do is you go in and see what's going on the moon, and then after you've gotten 2 pieces of equipment, that's when you go and fight all those nightmares. And then the last thing that you do before you do the final story mission is go fight Crota, go fight this, go fight that, or not Crota. I think no, Crota is one of those. But then after you beat the story, they introduced 3 like nightmare hunts is what they call them. And it seems like those might change on a week-to-week basis. So I don't know. Yeah, I like that stuff doesn't bother me. I'm just not gonna be on the same page, but I get it to some extent. I get it. Especially like I don't know, like if it's weird because I think if you lapsed in Destiny, especially since like OG Destiny, if you were coming into Destiny 2 now, which I know a lot of people are, if you never played any of the other Destiny 2 stuff, it's probably gonna be weird. And it's if you were coming from Destiny 1 to Shadowkeep, I think it's definitely gonna be weird. Especially because I think if you were jumping into like First Light or stuff, like I don't know if you play through the story. Like I don't know if you play through the Destiny 2 campaign that exists. You might just be able to skip that altogether and kind of go wherever. I haven't messed around with what First Light looks like, but there's like a new opening mission for First Light that is like a recreation of the opening mission of Destiny 1. So I think that's cool if it involves like you making your guardian waking up for the first time, but I haven't seen that mission yet. But yeah, I don't know. I think Mike, is there any other feelings you want to put out there for Shadowkeep?
No, yeah, I'm generally positive on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more Destiny.
Yeah, it's more Destiny.
I like Destiny. So.
Yeah, I mentioned to you, I think it might have been last night or a couple nights ago, of like I was worried before Shadowkeep came out of like I don't know if I want to grind in anything right now, but like I feel like I have so much to do again that like
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm like suffering through anything. I would say like I'm probably okay to do the raid now, although I could certainly use some more levels, and I just did everything that was available to me that is like new in this first week, and I did all the weekly things that you can do, and I feel ready and I feel good, and I'm excited to see like the stuff they added today.
Yep. Yeah, the stuff today was very cool, and it's just like it feels like I think there's always a weird it feels weird coming just off of like Forsaken and its seasons in terms of like the amount of like stuff you had to like level up and power, like, you know, end game power up more, so to speak, you know.
Yeah.
I liked having all of that stuff, and they kind of obviously for they want the new stuff to be the kind of prestige stuff and the power leveling stuff. Um, so they took a lot of it out. So I understand why they did it, but it's still like at the same time, it's like as somebody who was like in and out during like the last season pass stuff for Forsaken, like I want to do that stuff because I didn't do it too much, but at the same time, it's like I can't really do it because it's not really gonna
Yeah.
give me anything unless I like it's like the other end of like I can't just kind of go in and play this to maybe get like a better piece of armor because that's just not going to do it, or I have to go all the way in on it and go for some insane exotic that you can get from that. And even if I get that exotic from that, it won't be at my current level. It'll be at whatever the level. Well, I guess it'd be at 750 now, since that's like the base
That's the base level, yeah.
now. Which
Uh,
like that's all. That's like it's cool that like at the end of the day, all of that stuff's there to do whenever. Like if you have, even if you have Destiny for free, like a lot of the stuff you can do there, and just get a lot of stuff for playing in the free version. So
yeah, it's one of those things too where like we were talking about it Tuesday, and I don't know if like you can't run the Menagerie for powerful gear anymore. You can't run Gambit Prime for powerful gear anymore. But maybe they will open powerful gear slots for those in like week 3 and week 4 after like we aren't in the like crunch to get to world's first raid and like get raid ready and all
sure.
that.
Or even putting some of that stuff like on a rotation too, like with like, all right, this week, some you can get some powerful stuff from like the forges or this or that
Yeah.
instead of just always in the usual spots they always have it.
Yeah,
It's possible they could try that, but
they've
I
introduced
don't
so
know.
many different like group activity, like strike equivalent like alternatives to get powerful gear that I feel like
Yeah,
they should at least give themselves the credit of like letting you do those different things on a week to week basis to get
yeah,
powerful gear.
exactly. Like, and just in general, there's like, there's like somewhat strict equivalents like the Menagerie, and now like granted, like the Vex offensive, the stuff they just added is powerful gear because it's like a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you have the Menagerie, you have uh, the thing you get for doing Gambit Prime stuff, the Reckoning. Like I never even did that.
It's
I
cool.
don't, yeah, but I figured that's like a similar thing, right? To like kind
Yeah.
of the Menagerie from what I've seen of it. And then there's like 4 different kinds of like sort of like horde wave based like modes where it's like there's the forges, there's the dreaming wet, there's like the well,
Well, yeah.
and like there's a couple. I think there's like at least one other one.
Do we know
And
if
like
Blindwell tier 3 doesn't
I
give
don't think it
powerful gear?
does. Like
Damn.
I don't think anything in the Dreaming City does powerful stuff anymore.
Yeah. That would be
So
cool. I think like especially with as many new players that are coming in, I think the tricky thing
yeah,
is First Light gets you all of vanilla Destiny 2, but it didn't get you any of Forsaken,
right.
except for Gambit. So like they're trying
It
to
gets you Gambit. You do get the forges
okay,
and
that's
the
good.
Menagerie, I believe,
Okay.
in the free to play
Yeah, it's
version.
the seasonal content, but not the
But yeah,
Dreaming
you
City.
don't get like you get the year one raids. You don't get any raids or anything beyond that.
Yeah. So it's likely just like, hey, we're onboarding new players and we gotta just get them in.
Yeah, but even that, like I've not experienced for myself, but I just heard like a few people saying it's like it's not perfect for those because it is kind of like you said, like there is that initial like tutorial mission,
Mm-hmm.
but after that, like since everyone's 750 now, they just kind of let you loose.
If you
So there
do,
isn't really like a direction to you can kind of just do whatever you want. So I could see that being a little confusing and overwhelming to some people for sure.
yeah, if you do the First Light mission, like if that is how you load in, like, do you know if you start at 750 there too?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think it's just everyone's 750.
Everyone
Like
is 750.
that's like your base power.
Yeah, everyone is here and everyone is 750. Uh okay. Interesting. Yeah, I think it is mostly like the new light. First Light is an infamous game. I think it's mostly the new light like, hey, all these players have access to these things, so that's what's going to give us powerful gear, at least this week. But
Right.
yeah, we'll see how they do the rotation. And the thing is, like, they've been pretty good about kind of changing things on the fly. Like, say what you will about the server downtime that kind of happened in the middle of Tuesday. Like, I feel like all things considered, they shut it down and then they got it back up within 2 hours, which was pretty good. Plus, like, those first couple hours were okay. I don't know what something probably caught on fire.
Yeah.
Or like people got off work and just started smashing.
I
the
think
servers.
that's what it was. It was just like it lined up with this. Oh, at this kind of time zone, there's people from these different coasts are coming home. And
Yeah, European
our home
Standard
and
Time
other stuff. So it's like it just kind of probably buckled over a lot of people coming again on at once.
Yeah. Cool. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, maybe we can talk about some other video games that happened outside of Destiny. And then we can answer some questions and get on out of here. So we will be back in just a little bit.
Choo choo choo.
Choo choo. Hey everybody, welcome back. We've returned. When we went to break, Nabishan asked me to rank the destinies. I guess
You had the vanillas on there too, right?
yeah. I think I'm the only person here that's played all of the destinies. I guess I
That's not true. I played both Destiny 1 and Destiny 2.
All right. Destinies and their expansions. I guess I wasn't there for vanilla Destiny 1, but I did play all of it. Yeah, I probably played all the strikes at some point. Here's how I probably rank them. The Dark Below Prison of Elders expansions to Destiny 1 I'd probably put at the bottom. And then I would put Destiny 1 vanilla. Then I would probably put Destiny 2 vanilla. Even though I really like Destiny 2 vanilla. It didn't have the longevity that like Taken King or things like that had. Then Rise of Iron, which is the second major expansion for Destiny 1. Then Taken King, then Forsaken, and then Shadowkeep. Although I would probably right now I'd probably put Forsaken above Shadowkeep because I haven't seen everything I haven't seen the raid and all that yet. The seasonal stuff like I would probably honestly put like Curse of Osiris and Warmind below Destiny 1 vanilla, so like right above the vanilla expansions. The Destiny 2 vanilla expansions are not very good either. But like the Season of Drifter, Season of Opulence, it's hard to like. Those are like weirdly minor and major, so like I wouldn't necessarily put them in the same like in a ranking. But yeah, I would probably put Forsaken at the top because Dreaming City is awesome. Last Wish raid is awesome. And Shadowkeep so far has been excellent. It's just been more of the things I liked about Forsaken, with pangs of nostalgia. We'll see. That might edge it out. I really like the story of Shadowkeep. Like the main story of Shadowkeep is stellar, I think. Whereas the main story of Forsaken was good, but the stuff that happens after the story was way better. And that's the stuff that you're kind of like experiencing week to week and seeing like change as you play. And Taken King is just it's legendary for me just because it's what got me into Destiny. I played so much with Tony, right? Like that was like such a fun time. And it was all like new to me. Like I didn't know if like what Destiny really was, of like how the grind works, like going to the Dreadnought and doing like those. What do you remember what they were called, Tony? The statues where you put in the medallions to do those encounters. Court of Oryx.
Yeah.
But like doing that kind of stuff, and like I'd never seen stuff like that. Like, hey, we're gonna find these consumables that will let us activate these like tough challenges that we're gonna do to get loot. It's like, oh, well, like that's cool. I don't know if I've ever played a game with something like that in it. Even like Diablo or something like that. So yeah, I would say Taken King is still really high for me.
Yeah, I must be like not thinking about Taking King right or something like that, but I always thought like that was the one that like people have like.
In my opinion, Taken King is the best Destiny experience.
Yeah, that's why I thought that was like the universal type of thing. I know you're different, Alex, because I know you love Destiny 2 stuff, but like, you know,
I think I've just been like I was there for Destiny 2, so like every time something new has come out, I've kind of been there for it. So like Forsaken, which in a lot of ways is like the Taken King of Destiny 2, like it hit a lot harder for me because I was kind of there. Whereas like Taken King for me is all of Destiny 1 in a weird way. Like that is like that whole game. Like it is weird to separate Destiny 1 without the Taken King. Like they did exist separately. There was a whole version of that game before Taken King came in and kind of made a lot of things better. Like in before Taken King, you would hit like level 25 and that was like the max. And then your light level would be levels 26 through 30 versus like an average of all your gear's power. Like that was a system that they added in Taken King. And like that's like a whole other game, honestly. Like the way that worked, how slow that grind is like a totally different thing.
And when you had to have a fucking Galahorn or you can't go on the
Yeah, exactly. Although like that shit still happens today of like, hey, if you don't have the sniper, like you shouldn't do Last Wish, and it's like, oh, well, I guess I gotta go get that. But like, obviously that stuff gets easier when you can kind of brute force it a little bit more, or new weapons are introduced and stuff like that. Yeah, I think like Taken King is pretty universally loved. It's really cool. Like I've been thinking a lot about that campaign recently, because it is like, I remember the first mission where like, like it has like a kind of opening cutscene, which like none of the missions in Destiny had, and like Zavala is talking to you, which doesn't happen that often in the original Destiny, and like you're hearing these people talk, and then like you're going up through this moon base, and you see like this dynamic animation of this Cabal, like, oh, and he falls over, and it's like the first thing you see in that expansion. And it's like there had never been that much like nuance to like interactions with the world at all up until like the first mission of the first expansion of Destiny. So like, yeah, it definitely, it was such a huge change, and it added like a lot of what Destiny needed. And then the Dreadnought's a really cool location, and King's Fall is like still one of the best raids.
King's Fall is the best raid.
Oh, you should play Last Wish, Tony.
I think that the original Destiny 1 raid or Destiny 2 raid is also quite good.
Yeah, Leviathan's great. I also really like Volta Class a lot.
Volta Class is fun now.
Yeah, I'm
Volta
sure
Class was not great when it came out.
Yeah, but it is like, going back and seeing like this was the first time that they were kind of doing this. Although the mechanics for Volta Glass are really weird. I think like the highlight of that raid is like the last fight.
The second raid is funny because it's the one that is so notoriously easy that you can literally solo the whole raid.
Yeah, I've still never. I got to the last encounter once in.
I finished it a bunch of times, like over a weekend, trying to get the flawless raider achievement by myself.
Yeah,
and I got very close. I got to like 4 times. I got to like the last damage phase on the final boss, and then he just glitched out and killed me.
Sucks.
Or I died to some bullshit. But yeah, that was a lot of fun trying to do that.
Didn't you end up getting that for King's Fall though?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, because there's always some idiot who dies on the jump.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot
that like notorious jump puzzle at the beginning of King's Fall. We get on the fucking moving ships for 4 hours.
Ships for 28 minutes. I remember doing that with Jarrett Green, and he's like, maybe fuck.
Oh my god,
maybe fuck this. It's so funny. Yeah, Destiny's like done a lot of stuff. Is the cool thing. Like they've done a lot. I think I like Destiny the most where it is now, because they like incorporate the kind of philosophical aspects of like doing the same thing over and over again into the narrative of what you're doing. And I love all that kind of stuff, especially like time loops and like how the characters react to that. Like going week to week, Forsaken, and seeing the Dreaming City change was the coolest shit I'd ever seen. And it still stands out to me. To this day. Like it was one of those things like last year when we got to the end of the year and we were doing our like the editorial game of the year podcast, like, hey, like actually like let's talk about this, because like I've never seen anything like this before. And it's still really cool. But like they started that trend with Taken King, right? Like the Taken King is like a roadmap for where Destiny is today. And a lot of the narrative threads of Destiny that are going on right now and last year are following the kind of big narrative things that happened in Taken King specifically. Like the whole like all of the setup for Forsaken was because the what do they call it, the rift, not the rift, the shore, the tangled shore or whatever, the where the reef, that's what it is. I knew it was an R word. The reef, Tangled Reef or whatever, was destroyed by Oryx at the beginning of the Taken King. Like all this huge fleet, and the queen was like supposedly killed. and all this, and like her brother was like badly wounded, and then he would go on to be like a criminal who would be the main antagonist of Forsaken, that story. So like, yeah, they've clearly internally Bungie also really likes Taken King, and they really like what they did with that, and that set like a new path for them. That was like when they if Taken King had not happened, Destiny would not still be happening today. So, let's talk about other video games. Namashin, did you play any video games? You said no earlier, but I'm going to ask you again.
No.
Has anything caught your eye this week? A sparkle in your eye, just a little glimmer of hope.
No, I didn't really play much of anything. I platinumed River City Girls, and that's really the main thing.
Is that a hard platinum?
Not really. It's just time consuming.
That's how long is River City Girls? Just from my point of reference, just like if I want to play through it once.
Maybe like 5 to 6 hours.
Okay. Is it because you'd compared it to Scott Pilgrim? Is it like you're leveling up your characters and there's different characters to play and stuff like that?
Yeah, leveling up characters, getting stats, stat increases, like everything you get you like minor stat increases and stuff like that. So it's like it advises you to like pick up the money and like actually use it constantly, and like even like eat stuff, even if you're not like even if you're at full health, to still like kind of buy stuff to eat, just to bring up your stats and stuff like that, which is cool. Have different attachments for yourself to like do like different various things. Yeah.
Cool. Oh god, are there unlockable characters in River City Girls?
Yes.
Cool.
There's 2 of them, and they're really cool.
Cool. What about you, Mike? Have you played anything outside of Destiny this week? Anything you can talk about? Oh, Mike, I can't hear you.
Did I unmute myself?
There you go.
Video games.
Video games.
I haven't been playing too much outside of Destiny really this week in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that I can talk about.
Okay.
Wink.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Check your Ration Passions.
Yeah, I was gonna say by the time if you're listening to the audio version of this, you will know.
Yeah, they'll hear it. I'm trying to think. Tony, before I say anything, have you played any video games outside of Destiny this week?
Clash of Clans.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where's the Clash of Clan update?
So here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Free upgrade at the level that I'm at takes like 5 days.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, yeah, 5 things on my base are upgraded, and another 5 things are halfway upgraded. Since there you go.
Hell yeah! How do you feel about Clash of Clans right now?
It's fine. It serves the purpose that I was expecting it to.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I've got almost all of my walls. I've got like 60 million more loot to farm, and then I'll have max walls. I think maybe more.
Yeah. How are those this big bow, the big crossbow
They're
things?
done. They're just chilling.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, they shoot real fast.
Hell yeah. Have you gone at any what do they call like PvP stuff in that game? Is there like a name for it?
Clan War?
Clan War.
Right now there's Clan War League going, which is like where you get matched up with 7 other guilds of your power level, and then sort of near your power level, and then you just assign 8 people, or a certain number of people. I think ours is 15. And it's 15 versus 15. There's a war every single day, and at the end of the 7 days, when you fought every other guild or clan or whatever, the top guilds go up in rank and the bottom guilds go down in rank.
Okay.
And there's pretty hefty rewards, but it's basically like a week where you have a war every. But the problem with those is that there only is like space for maximum 15 people, and so every group that we're going up against just has like 15 Town Hall 12s, and so all of our Town Hall 12s are the ones doing the War League, because normal wars are for us are like 50v50. So it's just like the 15 best versus the 15 best.
Do you think that there are like burgeoning players of Clash of Clans, like people getting into the game now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are people in our group that are like, I started last month.
Jeez, that's crazy. That's like reach right there. That's real. You want to talk about a video game?
It's a Supercell game. They're like the
The
company that you think of when you think of a mobile game.
that's
you know.
popular and successful. Yeah. Did they also
Yeah.
make like what War Groove or
And
War Games or whatever?
they make Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, Boom Beach.
I've not heard of Boom Beach.
Oh, really? It's
Yeah.
like Clash of Clans, but with like sassy
Beach people.
sassy Marines.
That's cool.
So like the whole aesthetic is not like medieval combat. It's more like you have gunships and like Marines and shit.
It's just a good name, Boom Beach.
Yeah, Boom Beach because you got explosives, and your base is on. But otherwise, it's basically the same game, I think.
Yeah. They also have Brawl Stars.
Yeah, and Brawl Stars is new. I don't know anything about that.
Hell yeah. And Heyday.
Oh, it's like a farming simulator, I think.
Ain't nothing wrong with a farming simulator, Tony. Okay.
It's like no, but it's like a farming simulator with microtransactions and timers and gems to speed up your timers. Would you like to harvest these crops faster? Please pay $5.
Money, please. Yeah, they make big video games, big mobile games. Cool. Anything else?
No, I do not have time for anything else. That's like the one game I get to play while I'm working, so that's all I get to play, really.
Hell yeah. I a couple of things. Definitely mostly Destiny this week. But worth noting, very proud of my boy, our boy, a collective son of this podcast, Justin Graffius. We beat Dark Souls 2 this week. So we've finished part 2 of our 3-part Dark Souls series. And I got to see kind of the end of the DLC for Dark Souls 2, kind of see. The bummer thing is there is like a new final boss that they added, but you can only fight it if you fight like this other optional boss that is just like a super pain in the ass to fight. It's just like I remember it's like the one thing from Endgame Dark Souls 2 that I vividly remember very much hating. And it's just like a slow, arduous fight that just takes a long time, and it's very easy to die because the boss does like absurd amounts of damage with just one hit. Like it will easily kill you in 2 hits, even in like level 160 or whatever Endgame. So Justin and I didn't end up doing that, so we didn't see the new ending and the new final boss fight that they added for Scholar of the First Sin, which is a bummer. But we looked it up and it's cool. And we kind of got through everything. We did all the optional stuff that is like exciting, I think, in Dark Souls 2. So we got through that. The DLC is really stellar. I think the third DLC for that game is a real standout. It's like in this big snowy castle with this like giant cathedral at the center of it. It is very reminds me a lot of like Cainhurst Castle from Bloodborne, and anything that reminds me of Bloodborne is a high compliment. But yeah, they really knocked it out of the park. It's been so weird like seeing the DLCs for those games, just because like I'd never seen them, and it's weird to think about like an add-on to a world like that, like a kind of very like, hey, we're introducing this world in a more subtle way. Like, we're not necessarily going to tell you what it's all about. So like you go to a new area, you experience new things without like the normal context you have for DLC. And that's very odd. But what I like is each DLC in Dark Souls has set up for the next Dark Souls game, which is stuff that I never saw before. Like, the 3 DLCs for Dark Souls 2 start really tying it back to Dark Souls 1 and what happened in the DLC of Dark Souls 1, but also just like in the story of that. And then in the DLC of Dark Souls 2, they really lean into setting up the kind of like, hey, there have been multiple people that have kind of created these kingdoms and led a time of prosperity, and then like the fire that they have has dimmed, and the things have kind of fallen to ruin. The cyclical nature of Dark Souls, of like, there's going to be a king. There's always it's like, you know, there's always a lighthouse. There's always an ocean or whatever. But in this case, it's like there's always a king. There's always a first flame. There's always someone who's willing to kindle it. A golden age that will eventually succumb to darkness. It's cool. It sets up Dark Souls 3 in a cool way that I didn't expect. So then we started Dark Souls 3. Just played the opening area of that, but Justin's already very into Dark Souls 3 and how it feels, how much more responsive it is, the special moves that you can do. So it's been a while since I played Dark Souls 3, and I'm excited to play it again. I'm trying to I feel like I played like a couple other things. Like I played like Oracle of Ages. I'm still playing on the side. Just it's like a pre-bedtime game. I just got through I'm in the last temple for that, or the last dungeon for that. So I'm kind of almost done that little diversion of like, hey, I want to replay these Zelda games I haven't played in a while. I played a little bit of Link's Awakening because I'm writing something on it. But aside from that, that is.
Where are you playing it on?
3DS, the Oracle games.
Oh, okay.
And Link's Awakening, I'm just playing the remake. But yeah, it's they're good. I'm doing a lot more like the linked game stuff where you like get the passwords and you go back to the other game and put the give the password to somebody and they'll give you like a special item and another password to take back to the next game. It's cool. It's those games are really really clever, really charming. I think that's predominantly it. I've like been playing some other bullshit, but it doesn't matter. Nothing like that I need to talk about. I'm playing Super Paper Mario. All right, we don't need to talk about it.
Did you drop Gears?
I have dropped Gears.
Okay.
It was kind of a thing of like I want to play with Mike. I want to play with Scott. None of us have time because we're all doing 1,000 things.
Yeah.
And then Destiny came out.
That's why like it was like that weekend after it came out, we us three played, and then I realized just like, man, I don't know when this is gonna happen again when we can all play.
Yeah, I'll probably
I played through it.
Yeah, I'll just probably play
I
through
think it is worth playing through because I thought I enjoyed it.
Yeah, if I can rope Scott into it, I will. But I want to just kind of see what happens. It's just a matter of like, all right, when do I want to play this, and how am I gonna fit this in?
Yeah, I finally got to the part where I could play as Kaden. Like, it got to like a more open type of world type of way.
Okay.
So that's real cool.
Yeah, I'm interested in it. I've been seeing a lot of people talk about like, I guess something that happens, like talking around something that is a spoiler that happens in that game that people are conflicted about. But so like there's a part of the discourse that I want to be a part of. I gotta see it through. I gotta play it with the Gears 4 momentum. I am more inclined to jump in and check it out. That's it for video games. There was like one thing that happened in news this week, but it's a weird thing to talk about. So I didn't necessarily pull it. But there was the Sean Layden stuff that happened. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or feelings on it. But like Sean Layden just unceremoniously left Sony. It's weird. The reason I didn't necessarily want to talk about it is just because I feel like if we start speculating on what happened, it's just kind of rumor mongering to some extent. And I don't want to do that. But Sean Layden left Sony. Sean Layden is no longer chairman of Sony Worldwide Studios. Unceremoniously gone via a tweet. So maybe we'll know what happened there soon. Maybe not, but it seems like something might be going on over at Sony. They got a big year ahead of them, so hopefully nothing is too on fire. Fingers crossed. But we did get questions, and I do want to answer questions because I like questions. You can send us your questions and be part of the show in a variety of ways. You can tweet them at IrrationalPod with hashtag IPQ, like the folks today did, or you can just tweet them at me when I ask for questions on Twitter.
Real quick.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening on the site as well?
Oh yeah, I can talk about it at the end of the show.
Huh?
Once we get through the mail sack. We'll revisit. We got some cool stuff happening. If you would like to send us an email, mailsack@irrationalpatch.com. If you'd like to send us a voicemail, 44590-1337. Let's answer some questions. Does the music come through like clear for you all?
I heard it, but it was very low.
Bump it a little bit. It's very
it is.
chill.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in an elevator right now.
Yeah, it's very much elevator music.
Mm-hmm.
Frankie Godoy asks at Frankie Godoy asks how much of the moon is just recycled from Destiny 1. I said earlier it's like half and half. There's a lot of there's some stuff that I don't know if was in Destiny 1, but like the it's very iconic for me, weirdly enough. Like the area where like there's like the rail and the rail's broken and there's like a old lunar base that the Fallen have taken over. That is like 1-to-1 exactly from the moon.
That's where you used to spawn.
Yeah.
Destiny 1.
It's expanded. Like there's an area like down the hill that you can kind of go to now that public events happen. And then the area a little bit past that where like there's like that kind of circular building, that is also there. But there is also like the new area where you spawn is like a new little section that is like a little bit of a social space. What I like with that part too is like they have a spot where you can put up a raid banner. And raid banners are nice because you can essentially rally the banner and it refills all of your super, your melee, your everything. You have to use currency to put up the banner, but everyone in the area can use it. So if you like spawn in occasionally, you'll be like, oh, I can change my subclass real quick and rally to this and get it up. What's cool is they added a bunch of lost sectors, and some of them are in the old Destiny 1, like the Destiny original areas, but they expand on them. Like there is this one that like rail area where there's like the old moon base. There's like this one room that always looked like you could go down into, and now you can, and then there's like a whole area down there. And those like just look really cool. But a lot of the moon is new. There's like this kind of new area in the top right, and then there's like the Red Keep itself, which you can go into, but you can also go up in the strike that they added on the moon. So I would say it's about 50-50. But everything did get a facelift. It looks a lot nicer now. But yeah, that like for you, Mike, because you've never seen it before, what do you think of the moon?
It's cool. Like you said, like I didn't play Destiny 1, so I had no real affinity or nostalgia for any of it, but it's cool seeing like like it's that weird thing of where Destiny uses like real world stuff. Like they try to have these like lunar bases and other things that look like like a human civilization made these, but then they have these crazy alien like spaceships and like ruined like spaceships and stuff around. But then there's also that giant red keep now, and like it's all kind of fits together in a smart and a cohesive way somehow still. And I think that's testament of just like how well they like build out worlds now.
It's weird because like I don't know why, but I think the moon is like the most memorable location from Destiny 1 outside the Cosmodrome. And I just don't know why. Maybe because I spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, isn't it like it's like one of like the early places you go?
It's the second area. It's you do Earth on the Cosmodrome, and then the moon, and then Venus, which is like this Vex area, and then Mars, which is where the Cabal are. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it stands out a lot, and I'm not sure why. Maybe because I'm playing it again in Destiny 2.
Right.
Shane Lizard at Brendan _627 very, I guess maybe that's just like a Halloween name. A lot of Halloween names going on. He says, how do you like the new PvP maps? I personally love them. How about the new exotic hand cannon? The hand cannon's cool. It can shoot through shields, which is rad. Have we played PvP last night, and I don't know if we saw any of the new maps. So
Yeah, I rarely played PvP in base Destiny 2, so like I recognize very few multiplayer maps in that mode, so I don't know what's new, what's been around for year 2 and all that. So I have no idea.
yeah, I played a lot of Crucible since Shadowkeep came out. I don't think I've seen any new PvP maps. I don't know how many are in there. So, I wonder what's cool is the first mission in Shadowkeep has you kind of land on this big area in the moon, and that area is actually one of the original PvP maps in Destiny 1. And what's more is like that area was specifically in like the first alpha of Destiny 1. So it's cool. Like the first thing you see in Shadowkeep is like totally reimagining of this PvP map. I don't know if that PvP map is back in PvP.
Right.
But it was cool seeing that again. I want to see new maps in Crucible certainly. So I'll keep you posted. But yeah, so far I haven't seen any maps, but the hand cannon is cool. What's the hand cannon? Last Vow or something?
Ariana's Vow.
Yes. Which is cool. It's got like a hand cannon with a scope. It feels like the heavy pistol from The Last of Us that has like a big scope on it, which is rad. Mr. Brawls 99, Jeff Miz at Mr. Brawls 96. Excuse me, not 99. One of our raid fam. Do you think Bungie will or should ever go back to more linear mission-to-mission structure in Destiny instead of mixing in bounty-esque quest steps in the campaign? This is a tough one. What do you think, Mike? Like comparing, like, let's say, Forsaken and Shadowkeep's like kind of campaign to vanilla Destiny 2.
Well, I do kind of like the more traditional I did like the traditional Destiny 2 campaign because it was like more of like a traditional like first person shooter kind of action story, like, you know, it was kind of like a Halo campaign in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, to put it bluntly. But at the same time, it's like it was weird. It was a weird feeling to go from that kind of style of campaign into like the more traditional, I guess what you call traditional Destiny, which is like, you know, the end game grind and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think while ultimately I like that stuff because obviously you get like more of a story and more of like a character. You know, there's like a whole lot more cinematics and, you know, character interactions and like voiceover and all that other stuff. Compared to like Forsaken and now Shadowkeep, I think them better introducing the core concepts of like the end game of Destiny into just that's just the game now, because you're doing it all throughout the campaign now too. Like, I think it makes a lot of sense of like, you know, getting your bounties, getting, you know, doing these very specific tasks to complete a quest that'll get you this or get you that, or will get you to the next step of an exotic quest or something like that. And it's like all kind of laying that groundwork, so like when you get to that stuff, you are more familiar with like how to just do all that stuff from the get-go. I think is like makes it more cohesive, in my opinion. And like it made it especially easier for me of like, you know, it was definitely a jarring experience playing base Destiny 2 by myself and like playing through that campaign and be like, oh, that was really fun. And then you get to the end game and I'm kind of lost on what the specifics are I'm doing here, because it's a lot of this, or it was very different from what
I guess I'm doing public events for the next 3.5 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's not that extreme in these cases in the single player, but like it is a good like laying the ground. They've hit the better stride of like laying the groundwork for being like, okay, yeah, you need to be like getting bounties, you need to be doing this and like making sure like these things are important, making like players know they are important,
Mhm.
like even just here in the single player story, but also just as you're gonna play more Destiny, like you should just know this to do this stuff.
Yeah. I feel like the Forsaken bounty missions are what like turned you off of Forsaken, Tony. Because that's the last we played. But maybe you were just not in a Destiny mood then.
What, Forsaken? Is
Mhm.
that the one that I played like 5 minutes?
Yeah, we were in the bounties part of that campaign when you were like when we played that at all.
Yeah, I don't know. The feeling of that one just didn't like it didn't.
Yeah, the thing is like I really liked the Taken King campaign, which was a little bit more linear. And I think they did a good job of introducing some stuff in Taken King. I think they have gotten better at it. But it's weird. I'm a little conflicted on this just because to your point, Mike, that was like the first thing I thought of. Like, well, when you're playing a campaign, you're doing activities that are more akin to what you'll mostly be doing in Destiny, so it does make sense, of course. They're smaller scale, doing these tight missions or kind of like not necessarily breaking out to the map every time. Because like that was the thing with Destiny 1 was like each story mission was like a bubble on the map that you selected from orbit, or you could trigger while you're in the world, and you would go from each bubble to each bubble on each map, right? Like you just kind of go where it tells you to go. Whereas this is a little bit more organic. But like I also think it would be nice to have more of those missions and to be able to replay those missions because you can't. To some extent, you still can Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Because like there's nothing else like them. Also, like those are unique bits of content that you can only see in those campaigns. So it is weird. I think like if this was more like Forsaken, where like you got kind of like a little bit more of a traditional mission to mission campaign with the bounties in the middle, right? And then after the campaign's over, there's still like story rolling out, but it's in an end game way versus in a like mission based way. I think that's like ideal for me, because like they feel like two separate things, and that's the benefit of Forsaken having like two areas added as opposed to one. So I think I generally agree with you, Mike, of the bounty style missions make more sense because they are more akin to what you'll be doing after you finish the story and you have to get more powerful. But I would like more missions. I think what they did with Shadowkeep of like the strike that you do is part of the story is really good because they've never done that before for some reason. I think they might have done it like once before, but like
they did it in the other Destiny 2, like the tinier
they did
expansions,
it in
but like
Warmind, right?
I think it was the Curse of Osiris.
Whichever.
But yeah, it was one of those, and like, but like it kind of worked, but yeah, at the same time,
It didn't work as well as it did here, certainly.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, you're gonna go take care of this character that we've been talking about up until now, you know.
Yeah, and I think I guess maybe what I can see what like Jeff is saying is like having those like more structured missions and like going from mission to mission, like I think is more akin to base Destiny in terms of like also how like it does storytelling, right?
Yeah.
And like you kind of lose a little bit of that with this structure.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you don't have this cooler scene that's kind of showing off the world of Destiny more in a different way. Instead, it's just like you're exploring a world and then you go up to a person who's always going to be standing in the same place pretty much every time, and then they give you like some dialogue, and then you go and do your next thing, and like at the end of the day, that's always what that game is going to be in some regards. But there are times where it's like, yeah, that would be nice to have those moments, and it's like some of it's lost a little when you have the structure that they went for in Shadowkeep.
Yeah, I would just love to be able to like play any campaign mission at any point, like even if it was just like a menu that you could go through, but also like make heroic like versions of campaign missions like a thing again. I think that was cool.
Yeah.
And going back through those in Destiny 1 was like some of my more favorite dailies, even if they were like super repetitive, just because I liked a lot of the missions. I like a lot of the missions in Destiny. So anything with more of them would be cool, but they're clearly like testing out different ways to do stuff like that. So I don't know if they've found the solution yet. I don't know if I'm like super happy with where they are. I think there's maybe a better balance to be struck, but I like what they're doing. So
Yeah.
I have an open mind. Yeah, it's weird. The kind of bounty style campaigns are a tough needle to thread, I think. That's it for questions. Thanks everybody that sent in a question. I'm sorry it was so. This is a very Destiny focused podcast.
Yeah, it's like 2 solid hours of Destiny.
Yeah. I feel like I've gotten it out of my system for a little bit at least. At least talking about it. So hopefully we'll be able to. Other new video games will be able to come out and we'll be able to talk about them too.
Yep.
But here we are at the end of the show. Thanks everybody for tweeting in. Remember you can follow Irrational Passions and this podcast as a whole on Twitter at Irrational Pod, Instagram Rational Passions. Check out some cool stuff there. Real quick, some other stuff. If you like the show, rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you listen to it, because it helps us a great deal. Check out the other shows that Irrational Passions does, like Input, which is on its way back from hiatus, which I'm very excited about. RPG University, which is Scott White's show about RPGs and tips, tricks, and memories of all your favorite RPGs. And Video Game Book Club. We're recording the second part of Luigi's Mansion this coming week. We're going to be finishing Luigi's Mansion, so check that out. And everything else, irrationalpatch.com, place to be a couple of highlights from irrationalpatch.com that I would love to shout out real quick. First episode of Book Club is up. If you missed it, we talked about Luigi's Mansion through the Boolossus fight. Jess Cogswell and George Cruz sat down and talked about Sayonara Wild Hearts. They had a review discussion for it. And it went pretty well from what I've heard. I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm excited to. That's like one of those weird ones that like I don't know if I would like, but I'm really glad a lot of people do like it. And if you missed it, the 2-part series of Nobshin and I talking about our gaming history is up. You can listen to that. Rational Passions Presents is the audio feed for that. It's our kind of catch-all feed. This is really good. Good vibes. I got a lot of just nice things a lot of people said about like how warm those conversations were. They were really fun. Thank you for doing those, Nobshin. Thanks for bringing that as an idea too. You should listen to those. You should listen to Nobshin ones though, because we get a little weird. We get a little wholesome. But that's it. That's irrationalpatch.com. We've reached the end of the show, which means it's time for bets. Which we're in a new era of bets where Tony doesn't yell bets at me anymore, and I'm still weird about it. I'll be honest. This week's bet. Then let me know, Nobshin. I want the Nobshin seal of approval on this one. So we haven't done one like these before, and I've wanted to, but we'll see. In Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, which is a game that comes out next week, if I just hold right on the first level and jump over any obstacles, how long until I fall into a pit or I die?
And you don't jump?
Yeah, I only jump I would only jump if there's like a wall that you have to go over, right? But like if there's an enemy, just run right into that thing. Let's see if I die.
And just go until you die.
Go until you die. How long until I would die?
Okay.
or fall in a pit, which I assume is instant death. But some games there's no consistent rules on pitfalls in games anymore. It doesn't make any sense.
It's similar to like tropical freeze, right? Where it's like
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
but like, is it like when one dies, the other one takes over?
No, I don't think so. I think ukulele is one complete package.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that you get Lele. I know I don't think you could play as Lele alone, but like I think like there's like something you can access Lele, so I think you get like one hit or on you or something like
Okay.
that.
I would say you can probably take one hit. But I would still say until death. We have what if you have 2 hits, it's after 2 hits or you fall in a pit and die. I'll start us off. I think it'll take 18 seconds. Tony.
Say 15.
15 seconds. Nabishin?
I'm gonna go with 25.
I almost said 40 seconds, but that seems probably too high. Mike?
I mean, it's
8 seconds.
What were you gonna say, Nabishin?
I'm thinking it's an intro level, so that means
Yeah.
it's gonna be pretty flat for like a good minute or two. So there shouldn't be too much challenge.
It's probably just gonna be enemies, I imagine. Yeah, I'm with you. Cool. Last week's bet. How many viewers will be watching Destiny 2 Shadowkeep this time next week? The raid is over. I don't know if anybody is still attempting the raid.
I have it up right now.
I guess I'm sure people are still playing it, but let's see. Destiny 2 has 119,000 viewers. I said last week Tony said 41,000. Nabishin, you said 11,000. Scott said 80,000. I said 111,000. Got him. Let me double check. I'll refresh. Yeah, 119K. And Dado is still at the top. He's got 35.1 thousand alone. I don't know if they're like still going though.
So I'm looking to. I opened up Gothalian's one though.
Yeah. But some like an unknown team finished it first.
Yeah, it was like it was the first time that team did it.
It was like Clan Ascend or whatever.
Like Ascend, yeah.
Which is cool. That's I like a good shakeup. That brings team bat to best total to 28. And team doubling down still strong at 23. We're getting there. We're in the last 3 months. So we got what, like 10 bets left and the Game Awards, I would say, probably roughly. So we're in the end game now. Game Awards, I'm thinking of doing something that will bring in the editorial side. I don't expect the editorial team to win this year, but I'm planning on better incorporating that next year. So we shall see. That's it. That's the show. Thanks everybody for hanging out. If you tuned in live, watch along. Thank you very much for hanging out. We love you very much. If you're listening to the audio version, thank you as well. I appreciate you. I spent a lot of time editing these podcasts, so I appreciate you especially. If you like the show, you should listen to Danny Wiesner, who made the intro music, 2-player co-op, outro music, World is Saved. Very, very good music. He has other songs that he made too that you should go listen to. DannyWiesner.bandcamp.com. Thank you, Mike, for coming on. Always down to talk about Destiny, and I appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Probably. I mean, we're gonna stream the raid attempt when we ultimately make it. But we might do that next weekend. We'll see. And that will be more than likely the original raid team that we had from Forsaken. So for the Last Wish. So that's gonna be fun. It's gonna be probably a little out of control, to be honest.
Good.
We'll see. It's the way I like it.
Yep.
That's the whole show. Thanks, Tony and Nobshin, for joining me as always. I love you, boys. Thank you, Mike, for coming on. I love you as well. Scott, wherever you are, stay strong through these dark times. I actually don't know. Scott's probably doing homework or something. Thank you all again for listening. I've been your host, Alex O'Neill. Play your games. Stay rational. We will talk to you all next week.
Someone else do titles, please,
Titles.
because I can't talk.
You want a mainline Kool-Aid? I forgot that somebody said that. Tony, you said that to me.
You fucking said no. You said that.
I said that. I said I wanted to put Kool-Aid in the thing. I just didn't.
Okay.
I didn't know mainlining is what we refer to saline drips of Kool-Aid.
Then it was Tony who said that.
I lived with 2 Koreans and Scott. That's also
I did though.
That's true. That's also
Straight up
good.
lived with 2 Koreans. And
It's a good Tony quote. Makeadegree.com. That's really good.
I said some stupid shit.
You did. Yeah, it was a good Tony episode. 10 minutes until Destiny 2 talk. That's good too. And Boom Beach. I refuse to name it Boom Beach because I refuse to give Supercell any more advertising.
Damn, got him.
Got him. It's for me. I really like. You want to mainline Kool-Aid or makeadegree.com. Make a degree. I wonder if that's a website. What do you like, Nobshin?
Kool-Aid's pretty cool.
Makeadegree.com, not a website. Anybody out there want to buy that domain? Go ahead. Mike, what do you
I know there are websites where you can just go and make a fucking degree.
Yeah, printed degree. Degreeprint.co.
That's where I got my master's in Game Grumps viewing.
Excellent. Truly a master. What do you like, Mike?
Yeah, makeadegree.com's good.
Tony, what do you like?
Whatever you guys want.
I like makeadegree.com. I think that one's really good.
Yeah.
Mike, it is episode 442. Do you want me to write it out? And Tony, I'm going to make you say the title.
But please don't make me say things.
I want you to. I really want you to. There would be no reason why you couldn't say anything, right? Like there would be nothing.
No,
like
there are many reasons.
there'd be no like weird clicking, clacking noises or any other thing that you could be doing that would make it so that you couldn't say the title, right? Like there wouldn't nothing like that, right?
No, of course not.
So then it shouldn't be a problem. I'll
Perfect.
write it out for you. Cause I'm her. Jesus. And then after titles, we can record our little bonus bit. Whenever you're ready, Mike.
You're listening to Irrational Passions podcast, episode 442.
Makeadegree.com. I did it for you.
Makeadegree.com.
No, give me a clean take.
Makeadegree.com.
All right, I'll do that. That one's good.
Makeadegree.com.
Thanks everybody for hanging out. We love you all. Have a good night. Stop.